Have you struggled to export QuickBooks Online file to QuickBooks Desktop using the outdated Internet Explorer? And are you running into security issues? Keep watching. I am going to show you how to eliminate this problem using a brand new app called exportmybooks. Hey guys, I am Ufoma Ogaga from Goshen Bookkeeping and Consulting, and in this tutorial I am going to demo a brand new app called exportmybooks. Now this app is supposed to help you export your data from QuickBooks Online to QuickBooks Desktop, especially if you are planning on canceling your QuickBooks Online subscription, or if you are trying to migrate from one subscription. Maybe you're coming from a retail version from Plus Edition and you want to go back to Essentials and you don't want to lose all your data. You just want to export it back to desktop and bring it back into another file. Especially if you're going through a cleanup process, this app is supposed to help you handle all of those issues without you having to use Internet Explorer. Now on my screen, you can see to get to the app, you want to go to exportmybooks.com. And here you can read more about the app. It is very easy to use. I actually took some time to test it out offline on my own company file just to make sure that everything works out great. So I am actually going to walk you through the process that I went through to test out this app. And I went through to back up my own company file using this particular app. So here you can go all the way to the bottom where it says the frequently asked questions. You can read about their security. They're part of the Intuitive Developer Program. You can read about how long it typically takes to back up your file. If your file is very large, we're talking 3 years or more, it's probably going to take 24 hours for everything to be fully backed up. It took my own about 2 hours to back up. So one of the things that I did is I ran the backup and walked away from my computer and then came back 2 hours later. They sent me an email telling me that, hey, my stuff is backed up, and gave me a link to come back into the system and export that to QuickBooks Desktop. So I'll show you all of that process. Now, when you do use the system to export your data, these are the type of QuickBooks Desktop file and versions that the system will convert to. So this works with Windows, QuickBooks Desktop Windows, as well as QuickBooks Desktop Mac. That is one of the beautiful things that I love about this particular app. You don't need Internet Explorer. You don't have to mess with your security system. You don't have to mess with your antivirus system. You don't have to go through that whole convoluted process that we currently have to do right now to get our data out of QuickBooks Online. So these are the type of version that you need to have installed on your Windows PC or on your Mac to be able to open up the file that is exported out of this system. You can use this particular app on as many files as you want. As of today, which is June the 1st, 2020, that I'm recording this video, there is no fee associated with using this app. It is currently free for a limited time. I am positive that they're going to add a fee at some point if more people start using the system to back up their data. It does not support multi-currency. So if you are using QuickBooks Online multi-currency feature, your backup is not going to work. So don't even try it. And if you want to read more about all of those convoluted process that I mentioned earlier about going through Internet Explorer, you can obviously read through all of that stuff there. So to get started, you're going to click the Get Started button. Now I am logged into QuickBooks Online, as you can see here, and this is my sample file that I'm actually going to be exporting back to desktop. So I'm going to go back here to Get Started. You can either click how does this work, and if you click on that, you can watch this 1-minute video. It will walk you through the entire process of how it works. But since I've already done this, I'm going to show you guys how it works. So I'm going to click Get Started, and here it's going to ask you to log in with your Intuit ID. Ideally, you want to make sure whoever the master admin on the company file, or whoever is the company administrator, whoever allows or provides a permission to be able to add apps for your QuickBooks Online subscription, you want to make sure that person is the one going through this entire process that I'm about to go through. If you are a user, maybe a standard user, and you don't have that master admin or company admin to be able to add apps or connect apps to the company file, you probably want to talk to your IT person, or you want to talk to whoever is the primary master admin on your account to get that information. So I'm going to click sign in with Intuit, and it's going to recognize that I'm already signed in, and it will most likely probably try to maybe, pick my own company file. Let's see if it will give me, yep, it's going to try to pick my own company file. So here, I'm going to click on this icon here and see if I can disconnect this, and I'm going to do disconnect from my company, and then I'm going to click connect again. When you first do this, it's going to bring this screen for you. So I had to disconnect, and so that the system recognizes that I need to actually back up a client file. So here I am going to pick my own company. And if you are an accountant or bookkeeper that is doing this, you can check this box here to install it for your own company. I recommend after backing up your own company, probably want to click on that disconnect button, disconnect it, and then come back in here and repeat the same process for your own client file as well. So here I'm going to search for my client's file, which is the Mercy Church. This is a sample company file that I tend to use for lots of my training. So I'm going to try to back up that data. And this file actually has data all the way to 2017. So I'm going to show you that process. I'm going to click next and tell the system to install it for that. It's going to bring the screen again. If you are not the master admin of your QuickBooks file, or if you're not a company admin of your QuickBooks Online file, you want to make sure that any one of those key individuals that have that full permissions to be able to connect apps to your QuickBooks Online file, you want to make sure they're the one going through this entire process that I'm about to show you. So here I'm going to click connect to give it permissions to read my QuickBooks Online data. Okay, once it have read everything, it's going to bring this screen. It's going to have my company ID number there. It's going to have the option for me to export. Here's the instruction that it tells you. Click on the export button to create a new QuickBooks Desktop file. So I am going to click on export. Here it is going to ask you what is the start date of conversion that you want to export out of the system. If you have a lot of files, more than 3 years, you probably want to do your export in 3-year increments. So maybe start with the oldest 3-year and then walk your way up to current, or start current and do the reverse. Now, for this particular company file, and knowing that I'm going to actually test this out and also compare my reports afterwards, I am going to peek my data all the way to 2017, which is when my file starts. I'm just gonna, to be on the safe side, I'll probably just do, let's just do December 2016. Just gonna do that. I'm gonna click OK as my conversion date. At the bottom here, it's going to ask you, do you want to convert it to Windows if you have a Windows PC, or do you want to convert it to Mac? If you have QuickBooks Desktop for Mac, you can pick any one of those two options that you want to convert it. Now, this entire process is amazing, because if you are using QuickBooks Online and you're tired of maybe paying monthly subscription fee and you want to just bring everything back down to your desktop, you need to make sure you have a QuickBooks Desktop license. Click the link in the description box to sign up for an account or to purchase QuickBooks Desktop if you are making the transition, and you can save a lot of money by using my affiliate link in the description box. So if you are going to be going back to desktop for whatever reason, whether you're closing your business, whether you are just don't want to be paying online subscription fee, you just want everything on your computer, you need to pick whichever version that you do have. If you have QuickBooks Desktop for Windows installed on your PC, you need to pick that version. If you have QuickBooks Desktop for Mac installed on your MacBook, you need to pick that option to install. In my example, I am running all of this on a Windows PC, so I am going to leave the first option selected, which is Windows. Tell this particular app to click OK to proceed. Now it's going to stay here and it's going to work and keep processing in the background. This is going to take a little bit of time, and as you can see, it's telling me the time frame that I started my backup process, and it will have a finish date at some point. So I am going to let this run in the background, and I'm going to come back later and show you guys how everything looks in QuickBooks Desktop for Windows and compare it to my online file to see if it brought everything correctly or if it had any issues, like maybe create duplicate account or anything like that. I will say that when I tried this process on my own QuickBooks Online file, it created random clearing accounts on my books, which were very weird. Not only did it create that account, it also duplicated some of the core QuickBooks Desktop accounts. So the retained earnings and opening balance equity accounts, it created those two. It created its own version of it in my file. So those things you can easily merge in QuickBooks Desktop and fix those issues. So I'll show you all of that later on. The other thing that it did create in my own file was it created a random clearing account. So if you are using charts of accounts numbering in your system, it is going to automatically assign a number to all the accounts that you have, including the ones that don't have a numbers next to them. So my charts of accounts, what I mean, so that's going to the charts of accounts, what that is running in the background. So you see all of these accounts that don't have a charts of account number to them. It's going to add a number for me when it exports to desktop. That is exactly what it did to my own file. So if you have accounts that don't have a number in front of them, it's going to automatically add a number. If you have like, this is a kind of a nonprofit file that I'm using as a test. So if you have a lot of like equity accounts, it's going to create a different version of the opening balance equity, and it's going to call it conversion opening balance, and it's going to move everything from this account to that account. It's going to create its own version of retained earnings. Even though one exists, it's going to create its own version. So all you have to do in desktop is merge those duplicate accounts and then run your reports, and you should be fine. So I am going to pause the video here and just kind of come back when everything has fully exported and show you guys that entire process. So I am back, and it is 2 hours. It took the entire backup about 2 hours to fully complete. When the backup is completed, you're going to get an email that says, hey, congratulations, your backup is backup conversion. Your exportmybooks.com conversion has successfully completed. It's going to give you an export ID that matches the same one that is listed here. And it's going to tell you, hey, log back into the system, click on the link. Make sure you find the same export ID, and then it will tell you to click on the download link, and it will give you a password to use in opening up your file so that you can save it, do all of that process. So I'm going to copy this. And again, when you put the link, it will always bring you back to the screen, just in case you are, in case if you are not logged in to the system, it will always try to bring you back into the same screen. So here I'm going to click sign in again. Okay, it's going to bring me back to the screen. So now, as you can see, I now have an option of downloading. I can click on reports to see all of the reports. And when you click on report, it's going to tell you, hey, we created a brand new retained earnings account for you, and it looks like we moved some of the things that were in the account. We moved them from, this is my normal regular account. We moved it from there, and we moved it into another brand new account. And then it will tell you, hey, here is a check that was probably voided. and if the system cannot convert to check. So I do recommend review the audit report that the system gives you. Pay attention to that and make a note of the things that you need to change. Download a copy of that report, of this report, by right clicking and then, print this out and then save as PDF on your computer if needed. I'm just going to do save as PDF. Save that in my downloads folder. And I'm going to click X to come back to this screen. So once you've saved everything, you are going to click download. And I'm going to click download here. When you click download, it is important that you save the password. It's going to automatically create a password for you. The reason it's doing this is because as of 2019 and going forward, anytime you open up QuickBooks Desktop file, it always asks you for a password. So the system is automatically creating one for you here. So we want to copy this password. I'm going to copy this password and paste it in another place so that I remember what it is. You can click save to save it if you wanted to save it. Actually, no, when you click save, actually it's going to give the name of the file this weird, crazy name. I recommend maybe changing the name so that it makes sense. Here's the one that I downloaded earlier. It looks so crazy. So maybe, change the name. So I'm going to just change the name to say Mercy Church QBBB. And this is a QuickBooks Company backup file. That is the file type that the system is generating for you. It is exporting QuickBooks Online to QuickBooks Desktop as a company backup file. So all I did is change my name to just say the company name that I'm saving this stuff to. You don't have to change the name, because when you open up the stuff in Desktop, it also gives you an option to rename it to whatever company name that you want to. So I'm just going to do that. And that's going to download. And here is my QuickBooks 2019. So when you are in QuickBooks Desktop, you want to make sure that you click on open or restore existing company file. And in the screen here, you want to choose the option that says restore a backup copy. So the extension is going to be .qbb. So you want to choose this option, and then you're going to click next. And you're going to tell the system this is a local backup that you're restoring. You're going to click next. Here is the one that we saved. Here's that file. So I am going to click open. And then I'm going to click next. And again, this is where it will ask you to create a whole brand new QuickBooks file. So again, I'm going to go to my PC because I like to save this. And I'm going to save this here. I'm just going to save this, and then I'm going to rename this to what I want it to be. Just going to give that a couple of minutes. And again, here is where it asks you, hey, please enter a password. And here you need to enter the prior password that we saved. So I'm going to paste my password in here. So it is opening up our company file. So what we're going to do is try to look at a lot of the different stuff, run all of our reports, do the turning off all of these annoying pop-ups. I'm going to go into list and then go into my chart of accounts and just kind of compare. So I'm going to do split screen mode. So here is my sample file again. So I'm going to go into reports. Actually, so this is every single thing. And as you can see, accounts that we previously had with no account numbers, going back to our QuickBooks file here, you can see that most of the accounts that where we didn't have numbers, like these accounts, these credit card accounts, this deferred contribution account, this billable, all of this crazy weird accounts that QuickBooks tends to create. In the background, you can see that it has assigned a number to them. I think that's kind of smart. Even though it's the wrong number, but it has assigned numbers to them. So that's kind of a unique, interesting situation. So to find accounts that you don't have numbers on them, and it will automatically assign numbers to them. So for some reason, it keeps creating this global clearing account. I don't know why. And this is something that hey, if the developers of the software are watching this video, probably put some explanation of why it creates that global clearing account. It did the same thing to my own company file. That account does not exist at all. As you can see here, that account does not exist at all here. But somehow it creates this global clearing account. Now, I don't know if this is it looks like this is a QuickBooks generated stuff. In my own company file, there was no transaction inside this global clearing account. So again, I don't know why it's doing a global clearing account. So it's treating any vendor credits in QuickBooks Online, it's treating it as a weird, creating a global clearing account to handle those issues. It's very interesting. That's kind of unique. You could definitely merge this account with the journal account if you want to, or you can leave it as is. It's up to you. The good thing about this is it didn't create a duplicate on deposit of funds. The normal QuickBooks Online export function using Internet Explorer tends to create a duplicate on deposit of funds, which causes a lot of problems. It created a global clearing credit account again for the same thing. So it's kind of nice. It creates clearing accounts for you. And there's our retained earnings again, the one that I said it created before. So it looks like it moved some of our transactions in there. It didn't put all of them in here. So what I usually would do is tell the system, hey, I already have a retained earnings account, and try to force the system to merge. Yep, there you go. That's all you have to do is merge it off, so you only have one. And then the rest you can just leave as is. You can change the name, the titles, and things of that nature if you want to. So I'm going to leave all of that alone. And the next step of the process is I am going to run all of my financial reports using all dates. So you want to make sure you run this and do it all dates. And do the same thing. Come into QuickBooks Online, go to my report center, pick a profit and loss statement, do all dates. Gonna click my hamburger icon, and then I'm just gonna run this report. So what I usually like to do is compare the bottom line. So make sure that the total at the bottom matches the total at the bottom. As you're running this report, you want to run it in an accrue basis, so make sure everything ties out. If accrue basis is all tying out, and as you can see, my total here matches the same total here, the 89,000 plus. They are both the same on both reports. If I flip it to cash, let's see what it does. So with cash, my cash also checks out. Which is perfectly great. So this is the profit and loss statement or statement of activities for my nonprofits. This is what that report is. So I'm going to do the same thing for the balance sheet, which is also known as statement of financial position for my nonprofit entities. So we're going to do all again. I'm going to refresh. I'm going to do the same thing in QuickBooks Online. Go to balance sheet and go to all dates. And I'm going to run this again. Again, my total liabilities and equity matches my total liabilities and equity in QuickBooks Online. And my total assets matches my total asset there. So all in all, I think this is a great and amazing tool. It's a perfect way of bringing your data back to desktop and do some cleanup work to be able to, push it back to online if you need to, or push it back to another subscription. So while we're looking at that, let's look at our customer list and see if it brought everything in. So it brought up all the customers, and then it has a no customer deletes. Don't know what that is. But again, this is a very simple sample file that doesn't have a lot, but it brought all my customers in, including the ones that were set up as projects. So all of my transactions look perfectly fine to me. Let's go into our vendor list, and it brought all my vendors as is. So those look fine to me. Don't see any issues with any of that. If you are going through this whole exports, remember location tracking does not come down, especially if you're a nonprofit that use location tracking, or if you're a retail business that use location tracking. Location tracking does not transfer over to desktop. Class tracking, on the other hand, does transfer. So let's see if I can run, let me run a profit and loss by classes perfectly. And you can see it's showing all my classes. One of the cool things that I love about this, again, is it automatically turned on the class tracking feature for me. I don't have to go into edits and preferences to manually turn that on myself. If you were using the normal Internet Explorer version and process, you have to come back into the edits preferences and turn that on before you run your reports. Again, the system did everything for me that I would normally do with a click of a button. To me, this is super, super, super easy, less complicated. I don't have to go through Internet Explorer to get through the same results. And as you can see, I have very few errors and very few issues. But overall, this is actually working great. So that is it for me, and I hope that you enjoyed watching this video. If you like this video, please comment below and let me know your feedback. And also feel free to thumbs up this video, and feel free to share it with your colleagues